Now it's in full screen.
Thank you.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. I'm Anjali Raghupati, and today I will be presenting our work on compressive performers in language modeling. So first up, I would like to extend my gratitude to the conference organizers, as well as to my co-author, Siddharth S., and to our project advisor, Dr. Manu Madhavan. Our contact details are listed here if anyone is interested. So the agenda for this talk would begin with a brief review of our entire experiment, followed by what our problem focuses and the relevant existing research. Then I would detail the process we took to integrate our two baseline models into one hybrid model, and then the experimental setup that we have used for the same. It is worth noting that we have conducted experiments at 3 levels of tokenization: at the character level, at the subword level, and at the word level, to ensure a more holistic approach for various use cases of language modeling. With that in mind, we introduce the compressive performer, which is a hybrid transformer, which blends two existing model architectures based on transformers. So the first one is the performer. This was selected because it turns the normal attention function of a transformer from a quadratic space and time complexity to a linear complexity. And then the second model that we have selected for integrating into our hybrid model is the compressive transformer, which retains contextual dependencies over a long range in a sequence by compressing the old activations instead of discarding them like a normal transformer does. So blending these two, we have the compressive performer. It's not the most unique name, but yes. Experiments in language modeling at the character level, the word level, and the subword level have shown that our hybrid model shows improved perplexity scores, specifically on the NWIC 8 dataset, which is a very good baseline dataset used for compression tasks and so on. So we also compare two different compression methods. One is convolutional compression and one is autoencoder compression. And we try to see what kind of results those give with our model. So the focus of our problem lies in language modeling, which is creating a mathematical model to represent the distribution of text in natural language. Earlier work primarily focused on statistical models like n-grams and temporal models like RNNs. But these approaches didn't work as well as expected because n-grams can't handle out-of-word vocabulary very easily, and recurrent neural networks lose contextual dependency over long sequences. So information from earlier on in the sentence generally gets lost. Queuing transformer models, which has been the hype over the last 5 years or so, we move on to the transformer architecture, which you can see on the right. And this is the original architecture depicted in the paper, Attention is All You Need. Instead of relying on gated units and recurrent neural networks to preserve information about how words in the sequence are related, transformers rely on parallelization techniques so that multiple processors and codes can be made use of. And its core feature is the attention function or the attention mechanism, which computes a score to find how the words or the tokens in a sequence are related. The problem with this is that computing the relationship between every pair of words in the sentence creates a quadratic time complexity, and the resultant attention matrix that is formed after every layer is again quadratic in space. So the time complexity and the space complexity are both quadratic. So despite the advantage in the slightly broader context windows, which take information from various parts of the sentence, and the advantage offered by parallelization capabilities, there is still a very high time and space complexity. Okay, and because of this, we cannot train large models with a very large amount of data, like the PG19 dataset, for example, on consumer-grade devices like our laptops. You would need specialized hardware or expensive cloud resources that would be able to train such models. So this was the main motivation for our work. And we explored various other models that were currently being used. The reformer, for example, is one that tried to minimize the space complexity by using locality-sensitive hashing and reversible neural networks. But the problem with reformers was that it couldn't maintain the long-range contextual dependencies over sentences that were longer than a few words. And conversely, the transformer XL was able to preserve these context dependencies over long sequences by using recurrence relations and relative positional encoding. But the transformer XL used the normal attention function, and this again caused the quadratic time and space complexity. Additionally, sparse transformers, again, they took up a lot of space and they didn't preserve the necessary information. So we did come across two models that we felt would be excellent candidates to blend into our hybrid model. So the first one is the Performer. It was developed by Sharamansky and related authors. And its main strength is the linear time and space complexity. They proposed a fast attention mechanism called favor using positive orthogonal random features. So basically, instead of constructing the complete attention matrix using the formula 1 on the left that you can see below, so the original attention formula would have to do a dot product of the query and the key matrices, which would give a quadratic complexity n cross n, and then it would apply them to the values. But in the Performer model, what happened was that the attention matrix was decomposed into random features of low dimension, which take up less space, but give a very good approximation of the information that is being contained in that text. And also by using matrix associativity, you can rearrange the order in which the dot product operations are being done. So you multiply the approximation of the key matrix with the value matrix and then apply it to the queries. So this would create not just low time complexity, reducing the number of operations, but it would also allow the attention matrix to be stored in low dimensional components. So that is why we chose the transformer as our first model. And then the second model that we used was the compressive transformer, and was developed by Ray et al. And it uses FIFO-Q as a memory component to store information from earlier on in the sentence. It's the memory component into short-term and long-term. And once the short-term memory is filled, it extracts the earliest memories, in this case, the activation functions that have been accumulating over layers, and it would compress them by a certain factor and push them into long-term memory. Then these compressed activations can be used again to compute the new information about for the attention scores. So in our work, we have decided to explore two types of compression. The first one is convolutional compression using ordinary convolutional layers, similar to how we use it with images. And the second one is autoencoder compression, which also uses convolutional layers to generate a small latent representation of the text, and then reconstructs that latent representation into the original text, which is why we have the mean squared error reconstruction loss in that particular autoencoder. So our solution was to combine the linear time and space complexity of the performers with the compression algorithms of the compressive transformer to generate a new hybrid model, which can actually be trained on consumer-grade devices without causing such a large memory overhead that normal transformers would otherwise create. And it would also preserve important information from earlier in the sequence. So this was the algorithm that we came up with. So how we do this is, initially at the first time step, we clear the long-term and the short-term memories. You can see their shape on the side. B is the batch size. LMEM is the length of the short-term memory. LCMEM is the length of the long-term or the compressed memory. D is the embedding dimension. So for each time step, we initially take the input, convert it into its embeddings, and then create a hidden state out of it. We then add it into the queue, into the FIFO queue, and then apply a projection function on that FIFO queue or on the input to split the current contents of the queue into the query key and value matrices. This projection function can be as simple as a multi-layer perceptron or a simple linear network. We then apply fast attention or favor using the matrix associativity and the projections On the query key and value matrices, as seen in the previous slide on the in Formula 2, where we get the attention scores and we can apply them to the values. We then apply the residual connections. If the short-term memory gets filled up, we extract the old memories, compress them, push them into the long-term memory, and then continue with the next hidden state. So essentially, this is the algorithm that we have created. And we have relied on code from LucidRains as our base code that we have modified further to meet our functions. We have also, in terms of data, we took a subset of the data from the NVIC 8 dataset. That was a total of 10 power 8 bytes. And based on what level of tokenization we used, we read the data very differently. So when we did character level model, we read the first 95 megabytes of the data. Whereas for the word level and for the subword level, we read only the first 25 megabytes of data. This was because the large vocabulary at the word level would impede execution by creating too many parameters, thus resulting in memory mismanagement. That's why we read less data for the word and the subword level. For pre-processing, we removed XHTML tags because this is a lot of Wikipedia information that is in the dataset. And why we use the NVIC dataset specifically was because that was originally used in the compressive transformers paper. So we wanted to maintain that standard. Then we delimited sentences with start and stop tokens, and we used the multi-word expression tokenizer from NLTK for that. And we used normal tokenizers. So at the character level, tokenization was basically just splitting the text into characters. At the subword level, we used a byte pair encoding tokenizer to extract the common morphemes so that we could group frequently occurring subwords together. And at the word level, we used NLTK's word tokenize function. We built a vocabulary, and then we split the data into train, validation, and testing, again, based on the level of tokenization. So you can see the split ups mentioned here, and this was all based on trial and error. So that our training environment did not allow us to use very specialized high computer data. So we relied on using cloud notebooks in Kaggle kernels, where we used the Tesla P100 GPU, and we were limited to 16 GB of GPU RAM. At each iteration, in order to prevent exploding gradients, we did gradient clipping. And we also used some techniques like the learning rate scheduler and early stopping in order to ensure that the model did not overfit. So the learning rate scheduler would reduce the learning rate by a factor of 0.5 if it did not see the validation loss improving. And early stopping would stop training once it didn't see the validation loss improving over a certain amount of epochs. We also use the Adam optimizer because of its proven efficacy over stochastic gradient descent. And through various methods of hyperparameter tuning, we also found that the best batch size was 16 and the best model depth was 6 for the sake of this. Now, finally, the primary metrics that we used were the cross entropy loss that you can see here, and the perplexity, which is a larger interpretation of the cross entropy loss, which is used in multi-class classification. These were the results that we obtained. The green and the red curves are our hybrid model. The orange one is the performer, and the blue one is the compressive transformer. So as you can see at the character level, we actually didn't use any early stopping. And because of that, the curves are very long, but there's a very high jitter, which shows that there was a lot of difficulty for the models to learn contextual dependencies at the character level. Even so, our model tended to learn the fastest, and it had the lowest perplexity scores and validation losses among all the 4 models. Similarly, at the subword level, the jitter was much less, and you can see that there's a very smooth learning curve for our models, which showed that it could learn the dependencies between subwords much better. Similarly, at the word level, you can see that our model performed equally well. And then the next few slides are just going to be a comparison based on the prediction time, or how fast our model could predict the next word, the GPU RAM consumption or the memory consumption, the training and the test perplexity. They show that our model was learn the character dependencies over very long sequences. That's why its perplexity is much lower than the baseline models. I will be finishing this soon. And as you can see, the memory consumption is higher than that of the performer, but lower than that of the compressive transformer, which can be accounted for by the FIFO-Q and the compressed memory that we keep storing. Also, for a prediction time, our model could predict the next word much faster than the other two. So this was at the subword level. And we had similar results, the lowest perplexity scores and the lowest prediction, sort of low prediction time. And at the word level also, our perplexity scores were the lowest among all 4 models. So to conclude, our model was found to have a space complexity between that of the performer and the compressive transformer. The relative perplexity scores were much lower than the baseline models, which is an excellent improvement. The training approach that we used yielded a faster learning rate, so the model could converge smoothly. Both the compression techniques, the convolutional and the autoencoder compression, had negligible differences, which means it basically doesn't matter unless you're looking for very minute differences, in which case the autoencoder would give you lower perplexity scores. This shows the potential for having actual context-preserving transformer models that can run on consumer-grade devices without expensive hardware or cloud. But the limitations are that the quality of text generated can be significantly improved. Experiments have to be conducted with a much larger data set like PG19. And if there are resources available, we would need to explore with larger models, deeper models with more parameters. Experiments can also be done with custom tokenizers and other activation functions. And we could also try pre-training approaches for adversarial training, and also try to implement our model with other downstream tasks. So then it's just a complete list of references. If you have any questions, I think that should be. Thank you for listening.